Looks like Alex is first in the queue, so you can go ahead and start it up, Alex.
Thanks, Brett. Hi, George. Nice to meet you. Alec Bussey, Rivals.com, Orange and Blue News. I guess the first question I have is, you played here in the mid to late 90s, but a lot has changed, I'm sure, since you've been back on campus. What kind of changes have you really seen? And I guess what kind of emotional strings does that pull on for you?
I think the biggest change is just the facilities. You know, when I was here, everything was in Memorial Stadium. So when I walked here and I saw the Smith Center and the indoor facility, like we used to have the old bubble. So we would just go over the stadium field at the end of the season. And so the facilities are, you know, like I said, are a game changer. Walking down Green Street and kind of looking and trying to figure out where everything's at. Same name, just different locations. So man, it's awesome to be back. You know, I've thought about it for a long time since I got into coaching, and you know, when I went into the team meeting, I was like, wow, it's official. This is the first time I put on the Illinois shirt. So just getting all those things and meeting the players today, you know, I'm really excited to be back and really to be ready to get working with Coach B and Coach Peterson.
You mentioned walking down Green Street. Was there any kind of restaurants that you were hoping to get back to that are now gone or maybe gone by the wayside?
I'm dying for a La Bamba's burrito big as your head. Like that was the one thing I've been looking for. Obviously, I had a whole bunch of those through my career here. So if anyone knows where that's at, shoot me a text.
It's out on Prospect. Thanks, Coach. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hi, Coach. Marley Weirda with WCIA Sports. You mentioned that it was kind of a goal for you to get here and coach for your alma mater. I'm wondering what the emotions of that are like for you, and just to have this full circle moment here in your career.
Well, I take it with great honor. You know, I told Coach B when we were going through this process, you know, everything that I am as a person, some good, some bad, it's all traced back to here at Illinois. You know, I mean, I came from Buena Park, California, just a kid, the first person to go to school and to graduate here. I've had some amazing highs. You know, I've had some lows that have changed my life while I was here. And, you know, I think the biggest thing, you know, from Lou Tepper to Ron Turner to Greg McMahon to all those coaches, I just want to give what they gave to me back to the players that I'm going to have that I'm going to be in charge of. And, you know, I think, when I talk to Josh, you know, you always want to win where you're at, but it's totally different when you're part of the program. You know, I like to say, like, my blood is in the bricks. You know, I was here, I played, we had some great wins, some tough losses and all that. So it just means, you know, a little bit more to be back and to be able to invest in these kids and give them the opportunities that I've been able to have since I've left here.
Now, you were teammates with Josh Whitman. I'm wondering what he was like as a guy on the field, and now to be working with him here at Illinois.
He's really the same. I mean, he's lost a lot of weight when he walked through the door, but I mean, you know, he's always been a high character, high integrity. And, you know, most times when you meet the AD as an interviewee, you shake his hands. We just gave each other a big bear hug, and it's like we never left. You know, I mean, I hadn't seen him since I left in '99, and we picked up and started talking about old teammates, old support staff, old coaches. So, you know, he was a major reason why I decided to come with Coach B. Is just there's not very many times you have the relationships and the connections with the head coach and the athletic director. And I know that everybody is really, really intent on getting Illinois football where we all want it to be. And I'm just happy to be a part of it.
Thank you, Coach. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hey, George. Joey Wagner with 24/7 Sports. Welcome back to Champaign. I guess when you got into coaching, I think you touched on this. Was this always kind of the goal at the end, was to get back to Illinois? How did you know that you wanted to circle back here?
Well, I don't know if it was the goal in the end. I think once I got into coaching, I always thought it'd be really cool to coach at my alma mater. You know, I've been at a lot of places and a lot of great places and a lot of great coaches, and I just thought it would always be special to try to go win a championship that I couldn't win when I was playing. You know what I mean? So I've always followed Illinois like every other alumni. You leave and you kind of watch it from afar, and you follow the recruiting, you follow the ups and downs of the program, and you wonder what happened or what didn't happen. So as a coach, I've always just thought like what it would be like running out the tunnel. You know, the tunnel's different than when I was coming here, but just coaching here and developing the players. And like I said, I think it really goes back to like the experience that I had here as a student athlete. Like like, once again, I'm from Boyd Park, California. I came to the University of Illinois, and I didn't have a great career, but I loved it here. And when I came back on my interview and I was walking down the campus, like when I saw the brick buildings and all those buildings, I was like, it's the reason why I came back to Illinois in 2001 is the same reason I came here in '94. I mean, it's what I believe college is for George McDonald, and I want guys that come here with the same passion and the same reasons, but I want them to have more success playing football than I did. So, you know, that's my main goal, is just to get guys to come here and chase two dreams, chase the dream of getting a University of Illinois degree, and chase the dream of playing at the next level, but winning Big Ten championships and making Illinois proud. So when they leave, they're just as proud of this place as I am.
And then how did you and Brett, how did this process get going? I mean, did he know maybe that you had some interest, or what was the path to get to this point?
Well, me and Coach B have a long history. So when I started coaching, he was always a mentor to me and helped me out recruiting in South Florida. And the fast forward it a couple of years ago, I was at the University of Miami, and he tried to hire me at Wisconsin. It didn't work. And then he went to Arkansas, and I actually went with him on his staff to coach the receivers at Arkansas, but I was only there for, he says 2 weeks, I say 3 weeks, so somewhere in there. And then I went to be the offensive coordinator at Syracuse University. And then I obviously was at NC State. And when the job opened, you know, like everywhere else, everyone's like, who's going to get the job? And they go through the list. And once I saw his name on the list, I was like, they got to hire Coach B. Like, if we want to win, like, he's the guy. And I wasn't even looking to leave. He got situated here, and he reached out and said, would you have an interest? And I was like, you know, yes, but there'll probably be some things that we need to work through. And his credit and to Josh's credit, you know, they stayed with me through the process, and we got it done. And I'm sitting here, and, you know, I'm super excited. My family's excited to get here. So it was a work in process. But whether I was here or not, I was rooting for Coach B to be the coach. And I just have so much confidence in him that he's going to lead this program and lead it to sustained success, because obviously we've had some success, but just to have sustained success like over years. And I'm excited that, you know, I'm humbled that he felt that I was someone that could be a part of that success and a part of building a program that we can be proud of.
Thanks, George. Nice to meet you.
Hi, George. Colin Likas from the News Gazette. Good to meet you, and welcome to Champaign. Kind of building off what Joey just said regarding your relationship with Coach Bielema, can you take us through what that's been like since that time at Arkansas? Because you just said he tried to hire you at Wisconsin as well, so it's pretty evident he wants to work with you. He wants you on his coaching staff. What's that relationship been like since the Arkansas tenure?
It was awesome. It's always interesting when you take a job and then you walk in and you say you're leaving. But, you know, he was good. It was, you know, it was an opportunity to go chase a dream. And, you know, we stayed in contact through text when he was at Arkansas, and then obviously when we went to the NFL. And then, you know, and it wasn't anything in depth. It was just like, congratulations, good luck, or how are you doing? Just some infrequent texts. And then, but he's always been a guy that, you know, it's always those first impressions, right? When you meet someone, you get a good feeling about him. And, you know, when I met him when I was a young coach, and he gave me some maps of South Florida, I still have those maps today, laminated. Like, that was something that normal people don't usually do. And just the little times that I've got a chance to talk to him and interact with him, he's always asked me questions that made me think or showed that he had an interest in helping me become a better coach, a better man, a better husband. And, you know, just to have an opportunity to work with him. And like I said, I've worked with great coaches, and they've all poured into me. And, you know, I'm just excited that to have him pour into me, and hopefully I can pour it out to our players, and we can continue to grow this program together.
And I know we've talked, we among the media have talked about Coach Bielema's NFL experience. I know you have that brief stop with Cleveland. What did you feel like that did for you as a coach, just getting those few years of NFL experience in addition to all the college work you've done?
I think that the NFL makes you it forces you to be a better coach, because all you do is coach. You know, I mean, I think that's where I equate like one NFL year to being like 2 years of just college football, just because from the moment you walk into the building to the moment you walk out of the building, all your sole focus is on is football. There's no recruiting, there's no development, there's in terms of academics, it's just day to day working on football, studying at the highest level, and trying to find the things that are going to help you win on Sundays. You know what I mean? So I think that's what makes the NFL different is just the hyper focus that you're allowed to just focus on football. But it's also what makes guys in the NFL miss college, because you don't have that development, you don't have that recruiting and the, taking a player from a 18-year-old to a 21-year-old, you miss that development. And, you know, that's kind of, I think, what we both saw at that level.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.
Hey, George, Jeremy Warner from 24/7 Sports, Illini Inquirer. Nice to meet you, at least virtually here. Looking back now, which coach or coaches for you were most impactful in how you now approach coaching?
Trying to get me in trouble with this one. There's been, you know what I mean? There's been so many, like, obviously the first coach I worked for was Joe Novak at Northern Illinois. And, you know, he really set the foundation for me in terms of like coaching the players, being upfront and really how to treat the players. It was special at Stanford when I worked for Coach Stevens, because he was my position coach here. You know what I mean? Then I worked when I was at Stanford, Coach Cubitt, who was here briefly at Western Michigan. He gave me my first chance to hold the offensive coordinator title. Tim Brewster at Minnesota, he really showed me the importance of recruiting and how to go out and recruit and attract high-level players to schools they might not have necessarily had on their radar screen. Eric Mangini at the Cleveland Browns, you know, showed me the detail of how you prepare and how you prepare for a game. Al Golden at Miami, you know, he showed me just the more detail and more passion to coach. And, you know, then Coach Doran, you know, he's been awesome. You know, he taught me, you know, just how to love my family, how to be a great father, but also how to connect the players, like how I connect with my children. So I pretty much named every coach that I worked for. But like I said, I just think every place I've been very fortunate to work with great men, and they've taken an investment in me, and hopefully I've been able to give that investment back to the players that I've coached.
And obviously you've coached up, developed some really talented wideouts that have gotten to the next level. What's the key for you to building a good, productive wide receiver room, and what do you look for in prospects when you're trying to, you know, recruit them to, you know, your program?
The biggest thing, I'm looking for guys who love the work. You know, I think the gym rats, like I like guys who are workers. You know, that I just feel like that's who I've been as a coach. That's who I was as a player. You know, we always want big, fast guys or guys who we can. But I think the underlying thing, and it's the same thing I've been talking with the players here, is, you know, I want guys who want to work. I think that's what the program is going to be. One of the foundationals, like, we're going to work as hard as we can to be the best we can every single day. You know, obviously we like guys who can run really fast and catch balls and jump over tall buildings, but like with all the characteristics, we're just looking for guys who want to work really hard, and every day you're trying to be the best version of yourself. And I think if we get a lot of those players doing that, we're going to be really good.
Thanks, George.
Hey, George, Nico Hefflinger, Fox, Illinois. Welcome back to Champaign. A lot of the coaches, when they come in, their first priority is just, you know, meeting their position group, maybe going back and watching some tape to kind of see what they've got to work with. You mentioned that being an alumni, you're always watching the program from afar. Do you kind of come in with a little bit of knowledge about some of the wide receivers that you have on the roster already?
I think just through recruiting, a lot of the guys are from some of my natural recruiting areas, so I've seen some of them through high school or maybe reached out to them to kind of see if they're interested in some of the schools that I've been at. I haven't been able to watch very much tape yet, just getting here, but I know a lot of them, not a lot of them. I know a few of them through recruiting from South Florida, or just watching the 24/7 or the Rivals on signing day to see who Illinois was signing and stuff like that. So today is the first day where I'm really meeting with them one-on-one and really trying to develop you know, a really good connection with them.
When I'm sure you've had some chances to talk with Tony Peterson already. What are some maybe philosophies that you have for a wide receiver group that kind of gel with what he wants to do offensively when it comes to passing the football?
I mean, he wants tough physical receivers that'll go compete for the ball, you know, and that's kind of what I've based my coaching philosophy on. You know, we're going to have guys who are going to compete in the run game and in the pass game. We're going to make contact catches. You know, when you turn on the tape, you know, you're going to see the wide receivers flying around, playing with extreme effort, trying to get from point A to B as fast as possible.
Thanks, George.
Coach Bob Asmussen with the News Gazette. How you doing?
Ray, how are you doing? You were covering me when I was playing.
I was going to ask you, how come you still look the same? How's that possible?
This table's a little bit higher than you. I'm hiding all my flaws right now.
Again, I want to ask about your playing days. You played during some rough times, obviously, and also had a coaching change. How does that help you as a coach now that you've experienced what these guys you're going to coach also are experiencing?
I think it helps out a lot because I know what they're feeling. You know, I know the uncertainty of being brought here. Like I said, I came with Coach Tepper and Coach Greg McMahon, and then I played with Coach Turner and then Coach Stephen. So, you know, I know that first initial meeting, that nervousness when you walk through the door and you're like, well, what is this guy going to think of me? So, you know, I think it's helped me to get those guys to relax and just understand, you know, we're going to be in this together. We're going to build this thing together. And as long as we're all working as hard as we can to be the best we can every day, we're always going to be on the same page. So, you know, I remember that meeting where Coach Turner came in and he introduced his staff. So, you know, I think it just helps me understand and have some sympathy of what these kids are going through this week as they get to know me as a coach and as a person.
How important is for you as the next Illini to be part of the staff? How's it for you personally and also for the kids that there's a tie back to the bubble? I don't think anybody else knows of the bubble besides you and Ryan Lauren. So
I think, you know, for me to leave the place that I was at, like I was really comfortable. My family was comfortable, and I told my wife it's going to take something special for us to leave. And then when Josh and Coach B gave me this opportunity, and I came here and I looked around, I went back home and I was like, this is it. You know, this is special. This is what I want to do. So I think it's important that you have an alumni back because there's a connection, right? There's a connection from the past to the future. And there's a connection to how this place was and what it can be and maybe why it wasn't. You know, I always go back. We had Simon Rice and Kevin Hardy on the same team. We had Robert Holton. We had Scott Turner. We had a lot of great players. Where was the disconnect? Why didn't it happen? And then if you watch it, you know, they've had great players from Brandon Lloyd's to the Greg Lewises to the Aaron Moorheads. Like there's been tons of players that have come on here that have gone on to the next level. So for me, it's important because I know everything that I've been as a coach has been about developing, right? Developing kids, developing them as people and develop them to be high-level players. And that's what Coach B's been about wherever he's been. He's developed guys to get to the next level, but he's also developed programs. And as you go along this coaching staff, as I get to know them, like they've all been at places where they've developed really good players and been in really good programs. So like I'm excited. Like Coach Peterson was at Minnesota before I came there, and they had one of the best offenses, and they're a really good program. So I'm excited to be a part of this staff. I'm excited to represent Illinois as an alumni and to hopefully get it to where we all want it to be with the help of everybody.
thanks, Coach. Good to see you again.
You too.
Okay, Coach. So you asked about La Bamba. It's at Church and Mattis, out by where Church turns into the interstate. Still open till 2 a.m. So you can.
How does anybody get there? That's the defeats the purpose of being open at 2 a.m.
I agree. And if you're, you know, I'm a 90s guy like yourself, and Garcia's Pizza is right next door to it. They just kind of moved that out there for some reason. So there's your scoop.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You got it. So I'm curious about when you were recruited, you know, why you came all the way here. Who was your recruiter that convinced you to come to Illinois?
Coach McMahon, Greg McMahon was my lead recruiter. So, you know, I came out of Buena Park High School. So I think I was the first class that they started going back to California. I was as West Coast kid as you could get. I wasn't going to go to USC. I wasn't good enough to go to USC. And then UCLA had me on the back burner. So I had the Arizonas. And then Coach McMahon came out. It was Coach McMahon and Sherm Smith, I believe. They came out and they recruited me to be a running back. And it was like, just come out and visit. So I was like, yeah, I'm going to Illinois. And they're like, what? I was like, I'm going to Illinois. It's like, no, the S is silent. So I got off the plane in Rantoul. You know, I came on campus. Dennis Stallings was my host. And I just fell in love with the place. You know, in my mind, like in that era was the program and all those football movies. And in all those movies, they had brick building with ivy growing on it. And I came out and they showed me some brick buildings. They took me to La Bamba's, and the next thing you know, I was coming to Illinois. So you know, I was the first generation. I'm the first person in my family to go to college. I'm the first person in my family to graduate from college. I still have the picture. It will be in my office of when I went through graduation in Huff, and my family, the tears in my mom and dad's eyes just seeing me cross the stage. So, you know, Illinois is a special place to me. And you know, like I said, I was just a kid from Buena Park, California that came here. They told me that the bubble goes up when it got cold. I didn't realize it wasn't until the end of the season. I thought it was like a midweek thing. It would do it in the morning, we'd practice in the afternoon. And so all those things, but you know, I loved it, and I'm just so happy and blessed to be back.
And in that time, you know, when you arrived, your first game as a freshman, Illinois was 25th, playing Michigan. Then the fall kind of started happening. The coaching changed, the 18-game losing streak, you know, the field rush after Mississippi or after Middle Tennessee State. You know, you were there for the whole dip, and then almost the climb back, because the year after you left was an 8-win season. So, you think that's helpful to see Illinois program from where it was, and you know, when you committed, to what you rode through and where it was when you got back?
I believe so, because, you know, for me, like, I don't really remember. Everybody keeps talking about this 18-game losing streak. I forgot about that. But what I do remember is I remember Simeon Rice being one of the most elite players and hardest working players in my mind in Illinois history that I know it. I remember Robert Holcomb showing up to meetings with his pads on, ready to go out to practice. You know, I mean, I remember the great players that we had and the investment. I remember Asim Plez and that class on the scout team treating it like they're at the Super Bowl when they were going against us, which was a team that actually flipped it when they went to the 8-win season. So for me, what I remember is the really good players that came to Illinois and helped us win games and helped us move this program. And then the players that Coach Turner brought in that got it over the hump. So I think it helps, because there's a type of person or a type of player that's going to be successful here. You know, I think it's like any other program. Every player is not successful in every program. So I think me being here over the longevity, it just helps me identify guys that will really flourish or be successful in this program.
Thanks, Coach.
George, Matt Stevens, Illini Now, Sports Illustrated. I appreciate the time. You've talked about the the good and great players that have been here, especially since, you know, you've started your coaching career and followed Illinois as an alum. And I guess I'm going to ask you to put your alum hat on and maybe your Illini fan hat on, and kind of asking you why you feel like it hasn't worked over the past decade, and how this program's kind of been spinning its wheels. I mean, I know that you've probably talked to friends, former teammates, alums about that topic before, and I was kind of curious what you thought has been kind of the thing that Illinois hasn't been able to do to get over the hump.
You know, that's tough. I mean, there's a lot of programs across the country that are asking the same questions. I mean, I think, you know, consistency. I think anytime when you have coaches consistent, you have the program you can build it and you can grow it. You know, that's hard. I think I don't have that answer, you know, because I wasn't here, you know, so to answer as a fan probably would be disrespectful to the coaches that were in the building trying to build it. I do know that in college football, like, you have to recruit really good players, you have to develop them, and you have to put in systems in place that can sustain over the course of time. You know, I think, and that's the one thing I'm so excited to be here, because Coach B's done that everywhere he's been. Even at Arkansas, you know, he put together a program that won games and went to bowl games. And, you know, I mean, and leaving Coach Doran at NC State, like, he came in and we built that program where we've had 9-win seasons. Last season we won 8 games. The year before we won 4. So I think I kind of understand what it takes. So I think the number one thing it takes from a player development standpoint is just communication, connection, and competing. You know, those are the 3 things that I talk to my guys about. I want to communicate with them at a high level. I want to connect with them at a high level, and then I want us to all go out together and compete at a high level. So the past is the past. The future started for me on Sunday. You know, I mean, I'm just super excited to like, once again, I say, just, I want to make Illinois where everybody's proud of it. And I think that we're on the right track just based off of the coaches that we have and the number of guys that are walking this hallway, you know, introducing them and excited to have a new opportunity to go chase their dreams.
And you mentioned, as somebody who just follows the program, that you were a big advocate of Coach B getting the job when you saw the quote unquote candidates list that we all put out, and you saw who was interviewing. What stood out to you about Coach B, about the idea that this can work at the marriage of the University of Illinois with Brett Bielema could work?
I think one, he's down to earth. I think he can communicate with anybody. Like I said, when I talk to him, I feel like I've known him for years in terms of being best friends. I've seen him build the program at Wisconsin. I've seen him, the type of players he's developed since he's been there. I've sat in meetings with him at Arkansas and how he communicated and connected with the players and got those guys to play. You know, Aaron Henry played for him, and I've seen the development that he's done with him and how he's helped him. So I just think when you watch coaches and you meet people, I think you know, like, and I don't think you can say you know, but you have a feeling who can be successful where. And like, we've all been here, right? And we've all wanted a coach that's going to be relatable, that's going to be able to talk to everybody, that's going to engage the high school coaches, that's going to be able to recruit players from all over the country to come to Champaign to help build a winner. And I think those are the things that Coach Bielema, in my mind, has been able to do everywhere he's at. He's been able to recruit, he's been able to develop, and he's been able to develop a program of players who represent it on and off the field, you know, in a first-class manner.
Thanks, George. Welcome back to Champaign.
Thank you.
George, I had a quick follow-up. You mentioned recruiting there, and you've recruited all over the country. Do you know where you expect to recruit, or where you just feel comfortable really recruiting?
I feel comfortable recruiting pretty much everywhere. I don't think Coach B's really said where I'm going to be going. You know, I think I'll hopefully have some with Florida. I definitely want to reconnect with the state of Illinois and coach. There's been so many former players that have reached out to me, but you know, I think the biggest thing, the thing that's changed with the internet, with social media, is like you can connect with someone in California on FaceTime just as well as you can connect with someone from Rantoul. So I think the biggest thing is we're gonna recruit the state of Illinois, and we're gonna recruit the surrounding areas. But then, you know, we're gonna go out hopefully and just go out and find the best players that can help us win a championship that fit our culture and the things that we're trying to get done. You know, I've been impressed with the guys that coach has been doing, and exciting to see the guys, the interest. Just, you know, David James is calling me about kids in St. Louis. I talked to Jason Dulick about some guys he had. Famous Holbert in Chicago has reached out to me. Marcus Sullivan. So it's just been awesome that, you know, some of the guys that I might not have been in contact with, once they found out I was coming back, like everybody's pouring into the program and trying to give us names of guys to look at and to evaluate, because we all want it to be great, right? The former players, we want it to be as good as possible, and it's going to take all of us, you know, just pulling together. You know, Fred Wakefield's in Arizona. He might have a guy in Arizona. You know, I mean, I just think it's going to be awesome just to pool the resources that we have here as a state and as a university and really get this thing going.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
George, one follow-up for you as well, and perhaps this is me being ignorant, so I apologize if it is, but the assistant head coach title that goes with your receivers coach title, does that entail any extra duties for you? Anything extra that you'll be taking on as a result?
You know, I think Coach Bielema had a plan for me in terms of, you know, some of my development as a coach. And I know he's talked about some things he would like to see me doing. When I took the job, I just said I want to be the receivers coach. You know, I want to come here and my goal is that one day have the best receiving unit in the Big Ten. You know, that's my number one mission, is to help Coach Peterson and help the offense score points, be productive. But on the off the field stuff, you know, I think Coach B has some ideas that he would like to see me grow in, and some areas to grow in terms of dealing with the players, maybe dealing with alumni or dealing with Coach Josh. So I don't know exactly, you know, all the ins and outs of my title, but I do know I'm the wide receivers coach, and I couldn't be more ecstatic about it.
Thanks, George.
Hey, George, I also had one quick follow-up. You talked about coming here and seeing the brick buildings, and you talked about the graduation moment. When did you realize this place was so special? Was it immediate? Did it take some time for reflection to understand the importance that Champaign-Urbana and the university had on you?
No, I mean, I fell in love with it on my recruiting visit, you know what I mean? But I think I realized the impact that the university had on me as I got going in the coaching profession. Because like one time I just stopped and I was like, all right, let me see how I got all these jobs. And as I started going, like I got my first job at Northern Illinois, because I was a G at Ball State, but Dan Roshar who was the offensive line coach here, was at Northern Illinois as an offensive coordinator. I got my second job at Stanford by Buddy Tevens, because Buddy Tevens was my position coach at Illinois. I went to Western Michigan because I met Bill Cubitt, because Buddy Tevens hired me. I went to Minnesota because Thomas Hammock knew Tim Brewster, and Tim Brewster was an alumni of Illinois. And, you know, all of it as I go down, like every job I've gotten is either because of the state of Illinois or the University of Illinois. And like I said, I wasn't a great player, but I tried to communicate. I tell them all the time, I was in the Irwin Academic Center for 5 years, so anybody could get a degree from me. But, you know, that's just part of the draw is like I wasn't an All-American. I was just a guy that worked really hard. I tried to be a good person for the most I could, and I really made a lot of contacts, and that's what you go to college for, right? You go to college to develop relationships, get your degree, and hopefully those relationships and your degree help you in your life. And that's why coming back has been awesome and so important to me, because everything I have is because I wore the orange and the blue.
Thanks, George. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Anybody else got anything?
George, if I could get a quick follow-up, just there's one element to this place that you hadn't seen before until you came here to interview, and that's the Smith building, the new football building. What were your impressions of it, and how does that change the dynamic of what you guys are trying to do from a recruiting standpoint and just kind of building the program, making it a little bit easier?
I think it's a game changer. Like I've been, you know, I've coached in a lot of different conferences. I've never been in a facility like this. I've seen some on internet, but this facility allows you to go to anybody in the country and get them on campus and have a legitimate shot to go toe to toe with anybody to compete for them to come to the University of Illinois. I mean, the facility, the detail that they put into putting it together, the flow of the building, it's a game changer. And I think once we get to use it, once hopefully COVID, you know, slows down and things open up and you can start getting guys back to campus with the guys that we have and the ability that we have to recruit, I just think it's amazing. Like when I was like stunned, I was like, what is that? Like, what is that? And then it's awesome. So I just think the detail that they put in this facility and the support, you know, and I think that's what it shows, right? It shows the support is here to build a program that we're all proud of. It's not just lip service. It's in the bricks, it's in the buildings. And now when you get to go out, right now we're doing Zoom calls and we're showing it and you're like, wow. But when I walk through those doors, I'm like, holy smokes. All right, it's time to come home. So, I mean, like if everything was still in Memorial Stadium, it might've been different. But the fact that the administration and Josh and everybody's pulled the resources and this economic deal to get this done, like it's awesome. And I can't wait to bring kids on official visits and really walk them through and show. I'm still trying to figure out where the bathroom's at, but about that time, I'll have everything else figured out.
Thanks, George.
All good. Anything else? Thank you, guys.